Hey, Andy here from 2-Minute Tech Tutorials. In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create a web page using Adobe Express's Web Page tool. I've been teaching Adobe Express since 2016 when it began life as Adobe Spark, and it's without a doubt one of my most popular courses at the university where I work. The web page element in particular is useful for staff and students or anybody in general who wants to create really nice looking content to share with other people, but very quickly. The web page tool can be used to create things like basic newsletters, it can be used for portfolios, or it could be used in this case, like I am, for a fun city guide. The great thing about the web page tool is not only the fact that it's super easy to use, but it uses the sort of similar drag and drop methods that you'll find in Adobe Express's other applications like Post. It also allows you to embed images, YouTube videos, links, buttons. There is a lot that you can do with it, but the key thing is that it can be displayed on desktop or on mobile devices, so it's fully optimized for how your viewer is going to be viewing it, which is really helpful. So we're going to recreate this city guide I have on screen. You'll see it's got a lovely full resolution or high resolution image in the background. We've got some text. Here's the title. As I scroll down, I've brought some text in here. We have the hyperlink here. As I scroll further, we've got a full width image which unveils different parts of the image as we scroll. I've then added more text. We've got a button which when we click on will take us to an external web page, and it opens in a new tab, which is very helpful. Then we have this really nice image grid here, which you can populate with as many images as you want, and when you click on them they actually pop up in full screen and you can navigate through the images here. So setting something like that up alone in the likes of WordPress would take quite a lot of time and effort, and here it takes seconds. Then we've got another button here. We're making use of the glide show element, which allows you to nicely flow from one image to another, but you can also overlay your images with some text, with some videos, and in this case a numbered list. But you'll see here as I scroll down it fades beautifully into the next image, and we've got another information box displayed on top here. And then I have embedded a YouTube video, and at the end I've just got a basic find out more area. So we've got the split screen with a little bit of text and some useful button links. Now this here isn't designed to replace WordPress or a website building tool, but it can allow you to create a single page scrollable web page in seconds. So this whole thing I've created here, I can create that probably in about 5 minutes if I have all the text and whatnot prepared and ready. So in this tutorial, I'm now going to show you how to create this. We will be using the completely free version of Adobe Express, so everything I'm going to do is completely free of charge to do. And if you want to find out more about using Adobe Express and its other tools, then check out the other videos I have on my channel. I'll put them in the description and I'll put a card above just now. By the end of the video, not only will you know how to create your own web page like this, but you'll know how to share it with other people, and crucially, if you need to make any updates, I'll show you how you can update, and then the users will still be able to access the latest version with the same URL, and if you need to, you can unpublish it so nobody can view it anymore. So I'm going to head into Adobe Express here. I'm not going to take you through the process of creating your account. I'll save that for another video, and if I have one of those videos, then it'll be in the card above and link in the description below. But it's fairly straightforward. But as I said, I'm just using a standard free account to create this content. From the left hand menu, I'm going to click on the plus button, and then I'm going to go down to where we have web page. Now sometimes, depending on the type of account you have, you might see some templates in here for the web page, but they're not really worth using, and that's because what we do in Adobe Express's web page tool is we build all of the content and then we apply a theme to that in the end. So if you're using any of the templates, it doesn't really matter from the beginning, because if you don't have any content, you can't see how the template looks. So I would always recommend building the content and then applying a theme, which is what I'll do in this video. So I'm going to go to web page here, and then it's going to open up a new web page for me. So you'll see here it's all scrollable. So as we scroll down, it allows us to add elements, but I can keep trying to scroll and I can't go any further because this is where we've got to on our web page. We've not added any content, so we can't go any further. Before I add any content, I'll just highlight a couple of the options up here. So it's a cloud-based system, which means if you click on the little Adobe logo up here, it will basically save your work at that point and take you back to the main homepage or projects area, and it will save at that point. Here you have settings, so you can't get into the settings until you've actually added some content, and that's the same for all of these different options up here. So if they're grayed out, you can't access them, and basically once you've added some content, you'll be able to access them. And we'll go through them as we use the application. On the far right hand side, you've also got themes, and as I mentioned, what we're going to do is we're going to build the content, then apply a theme, because if we apply the theme first of all with no content, you can't really tell how it looks. So I'll close that for now. So the first thing I need to do to recreate this design here is we need to get an image to go in the background and some text. So I'm going to first of all add my text by clicking in the title area, and then I'm going to type in Exploring New York City, and then I'll put in here a 2023 city guide. So at the time of producing this video, it's December 2022, but obviously this is looking ahead to next year. So we've got our title in here, and now what I want to do is add my background image. So I'm going to click on the background area, and then you will see that we can add a photo, a short cover, or a split layout. Now a photo will take up the full entire height and width with a large scale image. Short cover will basically have a very narrow image, so it will be long but not very high, if that makes sense. And split layout will let you have text and an image. But for me in this title, I want to use the photo object, so I'm going to go to photo, and then what you can do is you can actually upload your own photos, or you can search Adobe Stock's library for free to use images. So I'm just going to quickly run a search in here for New York City, and you'll see loads of images come up. Now some of the images will have this little premium crown on them, so if you've not got a premium account you can't access those, but you could obviously find them in another location and upload them, and I'll take you through uploading images shortly. But for now what I'll do is I'll choose an image. Let's go for this one here, and you'll see it now applies that to my background, okay? So what I want to do here is I maybe want to reposition the text so it sits to maybe the other side of the Empire State Building. So your text here and your title can be positioned in one of 9 locations. So it can be top, middle, bottom, left, center, or right. So you'll see here all you do is you just click and drag it, and then you'll see you can position it to one of these locations. So I think this actually works quite well just here, because it's the bottom of the top line of text is just above the tip of this building. Now if I click on the image, you'll see I then get further options here to change how the image appears. So let's say for example I want to completely remove this image and start again. I could click on the delete button, but in this case it's probably easier because I know I want to replace it with another New York City image. All I need to do is click on replace, and it will open up that right hand panel for me, and then I can scroll through here and find another image, and it will swap it out for me. So in this case you'll see I've got the Statue of Liberty, but I might want to adjust my text here to maybe move it on the other side and see if that looks any better. If I don't like how this image looks, then that's okay. I can go back in and I can replace it, but for now I'll leave it like this because I'm actually happy with that particular image. And I think the Statue of Liberty is something that's synonymous with New York and most people are obviously aware of. Just to show you, if you did want to change it to a short cover, you can click on short cover, and then it will basically just display a portion of the image. And if we click on split layout, then you can have this kind of split layout here, but we'll be using that later on in this demo. So I'm going to go and I'm going to change this one back by using the undo button at the top here, and I'm going to put it back to this view. Now before we proceed and add some more content, I want to highlight this option here, which is the focal point option, and this is very, very important. If I click on this one, so I've clicked on the image and then I click on focal point, you will see that you get a portrait view up here in the top right. If you're sending out things like newsletters or a city guide like this, a lot of your users will probably be using a mobile phone to view it. In particular, if this was a city guide and I was walking around New York, I'm probably going to be viewing the city guide on my phone rather than on my desktop computer. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I drag this focal point and make sure that the main object within the image is displayed in the portrait view. You'll see if I was to move the focal point along here, then anybody viewing on a mobile device in portrait would only see these background buildings, so the One World Trade Center. So I'm going to move it along and reposition it around about here, and you can do this on the horizontal and the vertical. So I first of all will check that it looks good on portrait, but also highlight to you that moving it on the vertical is important too, because you'll see if I hit save, it's now going to show more of the top part of the image. And this is more important if we do that short cover, because now we can actually see the top of the statue, whereas before we could only see the middle. So in this case, I might even want to come in, and if I was using this one, move it right the way up, and then you'll see we can see the top. Probably done that a little bit too far, so maybe move that down about here. But you get the idea. So using the focal point on your images is really, really important. But in this case, I'm going to move it back to being a standard cover photo, and I'll just adjust the focal point to make sure that I'm happy with it. In this case, just go for it in the middle. So it tells you at the bottom here, scroll to start writing your story. So I'm going to scroll down, and then it says, okay, what do you want to add? So the next element we have is a little bit of a title and then some text. So I'm going to come back into here, and I already have a title prepared in my other browser. So I'm going to copy that, and then you'll see here, if I choose the text element, I can then use Command V on my Mac, or Control V if you're a PC user haven't copied, and we can copy and paste that text in. Now, when I click on the text, we get the basic formatting tools, and they are very basic, to be honest. So what happens with Adobe's web page tool here in Express is, instead of you adding text and then choosing a font, a size, a style, what you do is you basically apply one of 3 styles, and then it changes how they look based on the theme you are using. So if I want to apply a heading 1, then I go to heading 1, I can click anywhere in the text, heading 1, and that now has the heading 1 style. And when we apply our theme, it will apply the heading 1 theme to that piece of text. You can also choose heading 2, which is slightly smaller, or you can turn headings off by clicking on them, and when nothing is selected, you get your standard body text. So I'm going to go heading 1, and I'm going to go centrally align. Now I want to add in my chunk of text, so I'm going to copy that from my other page, and then what I'm going to do is click on the plus button, go into text, and once again, I can right click and paste it in this way, or we can do Command V, but we've now got the text in here. So if I want to make any changes to the text, let's say for example take this little reference out, I can take that out. If we wanted to maybe add some hyperlink to the text, I could make a selection on the piece of text, and then we get the formatting toolbar that we saw just a minute ago. In this case, I'm going to find my link to copy, so this is just going to be a copied link to Wikipedia. I've selected the piece of text that I want to hyperlink, and then I'm going to click on the little hyperlink option here, and then it says, okay, paste in your link. So I'll paste that in and click on the save button, and then you'll see we now have a hyperlink here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reselect it, and I'm just going to use this T, which is bold, so we can make our hyperlinks nice and bold. There we go. Now you'll notice if I try and click on it, I can't actually get the link to open, and that's because we are currently working in edit mode, not in preview mode. So if you're in edit mode, you can perform all of your edits and build the content, but if you want to really see how it looks for an end user, then you can use the preview button at the top here. So I'm now going to go into preview, and then you'll see as I go into preview, we can scroll down and we have lots of other content here displayed as the end user is going to see it, and we can click on the hyperlink, which will then open like it's meant to in a new tab. So I would tend to build the content and then preview it at the end to make sure it looks okay, but you can do it as you go through if you like. And then all I'll do is click on this little cross here, which takes us out of preview mode and back into edit mode. So if we go back to our other version here, you'll see that we have the picture of the Brooklyn Bridge. And what I want to do is I want to come back in, scroll down, click on the plus below that piece of text, and then this time I'm going to add in a photo. So you'll see we've got the photo option here on the left hand side. So this then opens up the right hand menu like it did before, and it remembers we searched for New York City, so that's great. We can just keep searching through the images here, or I can maybe run a new search for the Brooklyn Bridge, and let's see if there's anything in here. So if we find an image that we like, we'll go for this one here. You can then add it to your page. Now what happens by default is you'll see that we have like a left and right margin. So every image you add will be added in line with text. So you're not able to expand these margins, but this is part of what makes a really good application, because it's consistent across all of your different pages in terms of the margins here, and it's set up so it's nice and easy for your users to view and to read the content. So this image has been added in line with the margins, but I'm going to click on it and you'll see it's called an inline image. If you want it to be full screen, you can click on the fill screen option and it will put it into a full screen image. So it's basically the entire image, and as you scroll down you can see a little bit more of it. We can click on the image here and we can go for window, and the window is quite nice because as you scroll it unveils just a little bit of the image at any one time, but it keeps the full width. And then the other option is to go full width, which just displays the entire image, and it almost like floats it in. You'll see as you scroll down it kind of floats it up. So this one will display the image in its entirety, whereas the other options unveil just a little bit more of the image as you scroll. For me personally, I'm going to go for window for this one, and this is where the focal point becomes important again, because you'll see as I scroll we're not quite seeing the top of the bridge. So I'm going to click back on here, go to focal point, and I'm just going to move this up. And again, I'm keeping an eye on the portrait window to make sure that this looks okay for my audience who are viewing it on a mobile device. Then go to save, and then you'll see as I scroll down we get a little bit more of the bridge here. If you want to add a caption, you can just type in here. So you can pop your caption in there. If you don't put anything in, then the caption will just disappear when you basically open in the preview window. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit further. I've got another big paragraph of text that I'm going to pop in. So I'll go to the plus, paste my text in, and we've got that text. Now, if you wanted that text to perhaps be above this image, how do you move it up? Well, there's a couple of ways you can do that. You could select all of the text, and then I can use Command X to cut it. I could then choose the text element above the image and then use Command V to paste it in. That's one way. The other way you can do it is if it's an image, you can click on the image and you can use the move button, and then this allows you just to move the image up within your web page. So you can't do that for text, but you can do that for images, so that's quite useful. So I will leave it like that, and then the last thing I want is perhaps just a little button that people can click on to find out more about New York City. So how do we add a button? Well, we click on the plus option at the bottom, and then we click on button, and the first part is your button text. This is your label. So what do you want the button to say to the user? So I'm going to say find out more about New York City's history, and then I'm going to paste the URL into the second box here. Now, when it comes to alignment, you can have buttons aligned on the left, like we have just here. This is a little preview. We can do it on the right, over here, or we can do it in the center. You can only have one button per line, and they can only be in left, center, or right align. So in this case, I'm probably going to centrally align it, so I'll click save, and you'll see my button now appears here. Now, as mentioned before, because we're not in preview mode and we're in edit mode, if I want to be able to click on this button and test it out, I need to click on preview, and then I'll scroll down and click on the button, and it works. So we'll go back into edit mode. If you need to make changes to your button, you can click on your button and go to edit, and then you can maybe change the label here or update the URL. In addition to that, you can click on the button and you can also delete it, but just be mindful, if you do press delete, it doesn't say you're sure you want to delete this button, it will just delete it. But we can always use the handy little undo button up the top right here to bring it back. So now that we've constructed this text here and the button, we're going to put this little grid in. So I'm going to come back into our page, click on the plus button, and I'm going to use this thing called photo grid. Now, as I mentioned in the intro for this video, this is incredibly useful and a powerful option that would take a lot longer to do if you were trying to construct this in the likes of WordPress. It would probably require a plugin and quite a bit more effort. What we can do here is we can simply run a search for I'll do New York City again. And then all you do is scroll through and find the images that you want to add. So you'll see I'm just doing this super quickly, grabbing any images which are free, but you'll see that what it's doing is it's populating this grid for me based on the images that I choose. I'm also going to upload a couple of my own images into this. So I'm going to click on upload photo, and then it's going to ask me to locate the pictures which I have here. So I'm going to bring all of these ones in, but I'll take out these here, and then I click open. So it works with standard JPEGs or PNG images, but you'll see it has now added the images which I chose to my grid, like it has here. Now you'll notice they are just in the order we brought them in, but you can change them about. So let's say, for example, I want this image to be much bigger. Well, what I can do is click on it, and then I can click on this option to make it a large photo. What that will do is it will change the images around it to allow it to be increased in size. So now the first 3 used to be small, now the first 2 are big, and then the next 3 are smaller. If I was to delete an image, so let's say I don't like this one anymore, if I click on it and click the delete button, the other 2 around it will be resized, okay? So again, it's trying to fit them all into this grid, but it does chop and change the look and feel of the grid depending on when you click on an image and change its size. This one here I have made bigger. If I decided I want it to be smaller again, you'll notice that the large photo option changes back to a small photo option. So you can basically just go between. Now let's say, for example, I'm liking the look of this, but maybe I need this image to be further down in the grid. So all I do is click on it, and then I use the move forward, and you'll see this changes its position like that. So we've now moved that to a different location within this particular gallery. The other thing to mention is if you want to replace an image but don't want to delete it, you can click on the image and then use this option here to replace. And the benefit of this is it will replace like for like in terms of size. So if I click on replace and then find my other image, which is going to be in this case, let's go for this frosty looking one, and you'll see it now swaps it out, and that's going to be in this position, but it hasn't changed the look and feel of the overall gallery. When you're happy with your grid, all you do is click on the save button at the top right, and your grid will now have been added to your page. And you can pop a little caption in underneath, so some images of NYC, and then maybe we want to put a little button in here saying something like, I don't know, view more photos. So I'll grab another hyperlink, paste that into here, and then view more of my NYC photos. So this could be like a link out to your other location where you've got other photos stored, or it could be to just generally, I don't know, in this case, view more NYC photos. I'll put this one in the middle and hit save, and we've got this little bit of button in here. Now don't worry too much about the distance between the top of the button and the bottom of this particular grid. This will all narrow as you present or preview your actual page, and when your viewers view it, they'll be able to see it without as much space. Another thing that's quite helpful here is you can see next to each image you have a little cog and you've got an information box. So the information box actually tells you where the original image came from, and you can click view original source page, which will take you to the location where that image is saved. So in this case it's Adobe stock, and you can see other pictures by that person. So that's quite a helpful little thing here. So if you want to find maybe more images that are taken by the same photographer, you can search for those. You'll notice that the image information option isn't visible on some of them, and that's because those were images which I uploaded myself rather than pulling through from Adobe stock. The settings cog, if you click on that, this actually allows you to add alternative text, and this is really important because it particularly helps people who are looking to use accessibility tools to find out what's happening in the images. So for example, when you have an image, you need to give it as much information as possible so that if somebody is having this read out by a screen reader, it will actually tell them what's happening in the image. So for example, if it was of like a football pitch, then you wouldn't just write picture of football pitch. You would write about what is happening. So it would be which stadium it is, who's on the pitch, what's happening on the pitch, and try to really describe the image for people who perhaps aren't able to actually see it from themselves. So you put this into here, and then you can click save, and you'll see here it also helps with search engines and searching for content. So you type your alternative text in here, and then you click on the save button. Now I really hope you are enjoying this tutorial so far. If you are, make sure you hit that like button, and if you have any questions about anything which I've covered in this tutorial, or other questions related to Adobe Express, drop them in the comments area below and I'll try my best to get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Of course, be sure to check out my other Adobe Express videos in the description and on my channel. Now, let's get back to this tutorial and take a look at adding the next section to our web page. Okay, so we've added all of this content. Let's go down and have a look at the next thing. So the next thing is this lovely glide show, and I think this is, for me, is one of my favorite elements within the web page tool. It really helps to bring your content to life, and it's something that's quite unique. I've not really seen this on many other pages or tools like this. So I'm going to go into my page here. I'm going to click on the plus button, and we're going to use glide show, which is the second last option here. You can add as many different glide show photos as you want. Obviously, the more you add, the more that they will flow from one to the other. But in this case, I'm going to upload my own. So I'm going to choose this lovely New York pizza image, and you'll see it displays it here. And then I'm going to run a search for New York subway. And let's see if we can find a picture to use. So I'm going to use, we'll just use this one here. So the first image is going to be the first part of the glide show, and then it will glide into this one here. If I've decided that I want to change that order, all I do is click on either of these and use the arrows to move them up or down, like that. If you've chosen an image and you think, actually I don't really like that, you could delete it, or what you can do is you can just use replace, and you can just find another image. So I'm going to use this one here, and we've swapped that over. So if I'm happy with the images I've chosen for my glide show, I'm going to go to save, and then you'll see as we scroll down, we have our pizza, and then it glides nicely into this one. Now you can click on your image, go to focal point, and you can choose the particular focal point. So maybe I want the people on a portrait or a mobile device to see the crusts. So I'm going to make sure the crust is in view for them, and as I scroll down, maybe this one here I want to maybe this one I just want to make sure that we've definitely going to have this 50th Street Inn right in the middle, and I'll hit save. There we go. So how do we get these little boxes that you can see on screen to have text and elements in them? Well, if I jump back to here, they give you the box by default, so you can position this on the left, you can drag it to the center or drag it to the right, and you'll see it just snaps at that location. So let's put this pizza one in the middle. So this is going to be 10 top places to eat in New York City. So I'm going to click on the plus button, which is quite hard to see, but you've got a little plus button here. And then I'm going to choose text. Now you'll see the transparency completely changes of the box. I can then paste the text in, and I'm going to put top 10 places to eat. I'm going to select all of this, and I'm going to put this maybe in the heading 1 style and put it in the center. Now if you don't populate this box, it's not a problem. What will happen is it will basically just take the box away, and it will just scroll from one image into the next image. So you don't need to have anything in this box if you don't want. Next, I'm going to add another text element. This is just going to be some of my text here, and actually I'm going to left align all of this. I think we'll have it like that. So we've got a numbered list to add. So how do we add a numbered list? Well, what you can do is you can go to the plus button, and then you can go to text, and you can choose bullets or numbered from here. So if I chose the numbered list 1, I could then put my first restaurant in, and then when I press the return key, it gives me the second one, and so forth. If you've already prepared your list but haven't actually numbered it, what you can do is simply paste it in, as long as the first one you have chosen the numbered list option. And you'll see I can change that to bullets if I want as well, but we'll go for numbered. And if you wanted to, you could select these and utilize the hyperlink option, but in the interest of saving time, I'll leave that out. So if we go back to our demo version, we've got this lovely YouTube video in here. So this is a video straight from YouTube, which is basically telling people about 10 restaurants to visit in New York City. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the video in between these objects. So I'm going to go to this plus button because I want it to be in between this piece of text and this list. And then I'm going to go to video. Now you'll see here it tells you can embed a video from YouTube, Vimeo, or Adobe Express / Spark. So Adobe Express has a video option. You can basically create your own video content and you can then paste the URL for your videos into here. But you can also bring in videos from the likes of YouTube. The key thing is the videos have to be public and live if they are on YouTube. So it can't be a private or unlisted video, it needs to be a completely public video. And all it is doing is, although it says it's embedding it, if I paste the URL in and then hit save, it's putting the video into here. But if that video gets taken down from YouTube or is no longer public, then what will happen is it will just come up to say the video cannot be loaded, okay? But you'll see we now have the video here. If you try and click on the play button, because we're in edit mode, we can't preview it, but you can come into edit and you can change the URL if you want to. So if you no longer want to display this video, you can swap it for another one and then hit the save button. But if you want to preview this and see how it works, you need to click on preview, and then you'll be able to click on the play button for the YouTube video. So it'll take a wee second just to load. And then you'll see if I click on the play button, it opens it in full screen and you can click play and you get the video here. Now it does keep all of the adverts, the more videos, all of that sort of stuff up in YouTube. So it's basically just bringing it straight from YouTube, but it's a great way of embedding additional content into your web page. If I now go down to the bottom here, I'll need to click on the cross to come out of preview mode. And I might just want to say in here, I don't know, view the full list of places to eat in NYC, and then again we could put a link in here. I'll just put the link to the video since I've got it saved and click save. So we've got all of the different content here. Now one thing just to mention, if you select this text here, because this is a bulleted list, you can't have it centrally or right aligned. It's always going to be left aligned if it's a bulleted or numbered list. Now I'm going to come down to my next box and I'm just going to repeat that process. So for this one we've got just information around getting around New York City. So I'm going to paste this text in, I'll make it heading 1. This time I'm going to centrally align everything because we don't have that numbered list, it doesn't allow us to do it. So I'll add in my text in here and we will centrally align that too. And then I want to have a little button because I want people to be able to navigate the subway system. So I'm going to add a button that says, I don't know, view subway timetable. And then we'll centrally align that and hit save. So we've now got all of these elements in here. The difference between ours and the demo version is that this has this nice little map in here. So we need to add that in. Because it's going in between the title and the description, we want to click on this plus button and we're going to go to photo, and I could either search for a map here, or in this case I'm going to go upload photo, choose my map, and then we'll add the map in here. You can put a caption in if you want, I'll just leave it as it is. Remember though, do try and put your alt text in if you can. And then the last thing I want to do in this section here is add another YouTube video, which is just going to be things to do in New York. So I'll copy my URL and I'm just going to simply put in a bit of text that says things to do in NYC. We'll heading 1 that one, we'll centrally align it, and then I'm not going to put any other text, we're just going to go straight to video, paste our URL in, hit save, and we've got this nice video here. And the last thing I want to do is I want to have this lovely split layout. So I'm going to go back into here, plus button, and this time we're going to use split layout. Now your split layout can have an image on the left, text on the right. It can have 2 images, or it can have an image on the right hand side and text on the left. It's completely up to you. But I'm going to leave it as it is by default. So I'll click add your image, and I'm going to be looking in here for New York City, but I want to find a portrait image, and by chance there's one right here which will fit in really nicely. Again, I'm going to click on it and just check the focal point. So we'll bring this down so we've got way more of the taxi cabs. Hit save, there you go. And then in here we're just going to put in a big bit of text that says find out more. We'll centrally align that, we'll make that heading 1. And then we're just going to put in the 3 button options. So we've got what we've got, website. So button, visit our website, paste that into there. We'll make that centrally aligned and hit save. And then this is where I think it would be nice if you were able to have more than one button on one line, but in this case we've got to do it this way. So this is visit or follow us on Instagram, centrally align, and then the very last one is we want to add an email address here. Okay, so I'm going to go to button, I'm going to type in here drop us an email, and the way that you add an email link is you want to put in mail to, like this, then a colon, and then you're going to put the email address. Okay, so I've got mail to colon hello@discovernyc.com. This isn't actually my website. I don't even know if this is a website. Let's assume it is. But we'll then put in centrally align and save. So this button would hopefully, if an email address has been set up for that particular domain, allow an email to be sent. And what will happen is when the user clicks on this, it will generate a new email to that address within their email client. You'll see in the bottom left, it's telling you it's going to mail to @hello. So now all I need to do is I'm going to scroll back up to the top. I'm going to jump into preview, and we'll take a look at how the whole web page looks as it is. So the first thing I notice is this statue isn't centrally aligned, so I would maybe try and align that a little bit better. As I scroll down, I'll check my links work. So this link works okay. I'll check that the button here works. That's fine. And this is all I tend to usually do, is I just run through, obviously make sure your text and whatnot is correct. I'll maybe click on my gallery just to make sure that the images display. So there you go. So the viewer's working fine. Then as we scroll down, I'll click on this button, check that that works. And then I would check my video works okay. So we know that this video is fine. And you get the idea. You're basically just working through to make sure that everything's right. Now you'll see here this one's covering this number 5, so we could maybe move that to the center, but it's not a big deal. And then at the end we've got another video, and we've got these 3 buttons that when we click on will take us to the locations that we have chosen. So that's using the standard default theme. So let me just quickly adjust this image. Make sure that the statue is in the center for portrait people. Because of the way the image is actually designed, we can't zoom into it. It would need to be cropped to be able to get this statue and perfectly aligned on a desktop, but it'll do for now. So I'm going to click on themes on the right hand side, and you'll see by default we're using this one. It's not very easy to see, but it's got this grey box around it. This is a crisp theme. This is a default theme. At the beginning I mentioned that the reason I always build the content first and then apply a theme is because you want to be able to see how it looks, but if you don't have the content you can't see how it looks. So let's just work through some of these default themes. So these are given to you by Adobe. There's about maybe 10 or so. So if you click on Storybook, for example, you can see that we've got this text is different. We've got a slightly different coloured background. The link is a little bit harder to see, and as you scroll through you can get an idea for whether or not this suits your particular newsletter or city guide or portfolio. Trek one, for example, will put all of the titles into capital lettering, and this might actually work quite well for this one here. So we've got lots of black, which goes well with the black and white image we have here. As we scroll down, you'll see there's not too much of a difference in terms of the buttons between this and the crisp theme. You can use this nightcap one, which is a dark theme. So you see it's quite a bit different. And then there's some which, like Whimsy, for example, is probably better for more like kind of either fun city guides like this, or maybe like sort of wedding books, that kind of thing. So other themes like Bruce, for example, the buttons completely change. So these ones will be highlighted in red buttons, or Luca, I think, will have like a rounded red button, which is slightly different. To really get a feel for the theme, you're best to change the theme and then go into preview and just double check how it looks. So I quite like this theme actually. And there you go. Now the theme that we are using is from this Adobe Express themes area. If you're wanting to learn how to fully customize this, so you can choose what the styling is like for heading 1, heading 2 for body, you can choose to have a box around the title, you can change the background color, you can do a heck of a lot. I'll show you how you can do that using the link at the end of this video, and I'll put it in the card above. That will allow you to make use of branding, which is an additional feature for pro users, and the pro accounts cost around about £10 per month, but it gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of how your pages look. So if you're interested in learning more about customizing the look and feel of your page instead of using these standard themes, then check out that video at the end of this particular video. So let's close the themes menu for now. Couple of things to highlight. So if we go to settings, there is the option here to set up Google tracking with Google Analytics if you want to get more of an idea about how people are getting to and are consuming your content on your page. I've got a full video explaining how to do that. I'll put the link in the card above and in the description below. The present option up here allows you to run your web page like a presentation. So if you're presenting live, you can just use like the down key to move like this, or you can use your right arrow to move through. So you can move slowly through the content, or you can move essentially page by page. So that's quite useful if you're wanting to present your web page live. You'll see there is also a sharing option here. So you have the option to print it. You can save it as a PDF if you want. You can send to your Google Drive, and you can also invite other people to edit your particular web page. What I'm interested in though is publishing and sharing, because at the moment nobody can see this particular newsletter. It's only visible to me. I'm going to hit publish and share link, and then we can populate it with some information here. So it gives it the title that we gave it at the start. You can change that if you want. So I'm going to put 2023 City Guide. Choose a category, so I'm going to choose this as travel. I'm going to change it so that my name is displayed at the bottom. And if you really wanted to, you could put a little profile picture in here if you want. Your photo credits here will be put automatically in for you for all of the images that you've used from the likes of Adobe Stock or from other places. You can put your own credits in. You can even select and delete all of these if you don't want to use them. But I would say it's always good practice to leave them in. So you can, if you need to, you can restore them too. The final one is if you want your project to perhaps be featured on the Adobe Express website, you can leave this on, or if you don't want to, you can turn it off. Now what I'll do is I'll hit create link, and this is going to make a unique link that is hosted by Adobe for me. So if I now wanted to publish this to my blog, or if I wanted to share this on Instagram and maybe I didn't have a website set up, I could put this in my bio, I could put it at the bottom of my YouTube videos, or I could even put it on something like my LinkedIn profile if it was a portfolio, for example. Then what I'll do is I'll hit the copy button, and you'll see there are different options here. You can share to email, you can share to Teams, publish straight to Facebook. You can also embed your pages. So if you make a web page in Adobe Express, you can embed it onto your website if you wanted to. But you'll see here, if I copy this link and then just open up a new browser and paste it in, it looks exactly like it does for the kind of main preview. So we can scroll down, and this is exactly how it will look for the end user. So when you send this out to people, this is what they'll see if they view it on a desktop, and if they view it on the mobile version, I'll show you that on screen just now as well. So you see they're able to view this in portrait and essentially just keep scrolling to consume the content. Now, let's say for example, you need to make a change. So you have sent this out to loads of people, you've got it on your website, and then let's say the video here no longer works. So you need to find another video to change this for. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy my things to do in New York City one. I'm going to come in and I'm going to click on the video and choose edit. And this is still live, I've still published my web page, but I'm going to paste the new video link in and hit save. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up to share, and then I'll use publish and share link. And you'll see it tells me they've noticed that some changes have been made. I'll hit update link. And the beauty of this is the existing link that you have sent out to other users will still be active. It's the same link here, and then if I just paste it in and scroll down, you'll see it's the exact same link, exact same newsletter, but now the video has changed. So it's great, you can go in, you can make little tweaks, make little changes, and this also works well if you wanted to make like an ongoing blog and you just wanted to change the content but always only publish one link. You could just keep adding to it, or you could perhaps change the content up knowing that users will be able to access it using the exact same link. The last thing for me to mention is what do you do if you have published this but you no longer want people to be able to view it? Well, what you do for that is you go back to the main Adobe Express projects area. So I've clicked on the Adobe Express bit up here. It's now going to save my design at this point, and it will take me back to Adobe Express. Go into projects and we're going to click on the three dots up the top here and choose unpublish. We can then go to OK, and this newsletter or this web page will no longer be visible to anybody, so nobody can see if they've got the link. If I try and paste that link back in, you'll see that it tells me that the page doesn't exist. If you want to then republish it, all you need to do is click on Edit Project, and then you're going to go back to Share, Publish and Share Link, and from here you can create the link again. And the great thing about this is it's going to be the same link. So if you have previously shared this link with people, when you republish, it's actually publishing it under the exact same link. So you're able to then basically just allow people to view the content because you've republished it. So I would say if you are looking to just make a couple of little changes, I wouldn't unpublish, then make the changes, then republish. I would probably just go in and make them and then just update using the update link option. So that's how to use Adobe Express's web page tool to build a basic web page, portfolio, newsletter, or in this case, a city guide. I really hope you have found this to be useful. If you have, make sure you hit that like button and feel free to subscribe to the channel. If you want to take your Adobe Express learning to the next level, then I've got a really helpful playlist available which you can check out here. And if you want to learn how to really improve the look and feel of your particular web page, then do check out this video in which I talk about how to adapt your web page using your own custom themes. But thanks again for watching.